well, presumably seeks of violence. I think perhaps here this is another instance, where one should just observe one's own reactions. When you go to see a film, and it would seem that you can hardly avoid seeing some element of violence nowadays in almost all films. I mean, just see the effect it has on you. I mean, people living in London, living in communities in London, have told me on more than one occasion that when they have happened to see a film in which there is a lot of violence, it's affected their sleep, it's affected their dreams for days and days afterwards. I went to see a film not so long ago in Norwich. The film itself was innocent of all violence. It was Passage to India. But, I'd forgotten about the trailers. And the trailers were utterly dreadful. I mean, it was crude, concentrated, but every single trailer. There were trailers of 3 films, I think. They'd taken out all the most violent bits and put them all together in about 3 minutes for each film. It was really quite ghastly. That cannot have a good effect on you. So I just wonder why it happens, and why people like it, why people enjoy it. I mean, they must like the violence because it's commercially successful. If it didn't sell, well, people wouldn't sell it. So, what is it? I mean, is it inherent? Is it a recent development, or is it the nature of the brute? I mean, has it always been there anyway? Maybe in days of the Roman Empire, it was Christians and lions and gladiators and things. Now, well, it's something else. It's simulated at least. This, I mean, I've mentioned it before. I mentioned it again at the risk of boring you. This was one of the things I noticed when I came back from India. I very cautiously ventured along to 1 or 2 films, and one day somebody told me, a friend told me that, who was it? Because I'm trying to remember his name now. Not the friend who told me, but this particular series of films. Oh, Monty Python. Have you all heard of him, or is he out of date, or are you too young? The Monty Python films. They were so funny, I was told. You laughed all the time. Really uproarious. So I thought, well, maybe I better, cheer myself up and go and see a Monty Python. So, I was just starting the after review at that time. So I went along, and really I was horrified because you just gazed at the screen and you saw a country scene, and some people appeared in the midst of a field, and then a bomb fell and blew them all up. The audience, it was so funny. The audience killed themselves. So all through this film, people were being blown up and smashed to pieces. And I mean, the audience really enjoyed it. A thoroughly good time. It was such a funny film. So they thought, well, I was just getting more and more horrified. I thought, well, what's happened? In my young days, you didn't laugh at things like that. Such things were regarded as terrible. Apparently, it was humour. Everybody found this very, very funny. I was the only person in the cinema who wasn't laughing, apparently. Apparently you weren't meant to take it all very seriously. People got blown up, so what? It was just a big joke thing, happened in quite a funny sort of way. But it did give me food for thought that something had happened, during the 20 years I'd been away, while my back was turned, as it were. Something had happened. People had developed this sort of sick sense of humour, which I didn't really like at all, and I still don't like it. I still think it's quite unhealthy, quite unskillful. I think sometimes it does, because you have to see a work of art as a whole. You can't just dwell on the violent bits, as it were. There are some producers of Shakespeare do. I mean, I mentioned again the other evening, I think, a production of Lear, a stage production which I saw where the gouging after the eyes was really dwelt upon. Whereas in Shakespeare's time, apparently it was just mimes, and that was the tradition. But now they just represent it in all its horror, as literally as they possibly can. I think that's totally unnecessary. But yes, there can be an element of violence in that way integrated into the work of art. Perhaps it's significant that in the case of Greek tragedy, all the deaths took place off stage. which probably showed the great discretion and sensitivity of the Greeks, who were not a squeamish people. In actual war, in actual battle, they didn't hesitate to put people to death, to kill, even to massacre. But on the stage, in the context of an artistic performance, they preferred to have even the simulated death, that happened off stage. And now we bring it right forward in front of the footlights. You have to see every twitch, as it were.